And we're live at the Will Studios in sunny Ohio. Let's make sure this stays at. We're working on release, of course, as always. We're keeping an eye on the prize. The other stuff we can do, the promo stuff we can do later. What's the word I'm thinking of? Time lapses. I'm gonna have the time lapse of the Wolverine Deadpool thing. All the fan arty type stuff that I do will eventually become time lapse material for the channel. I'm gonna be doing more tutorials again here pretty soon. But before I get started on all that, because I started this on a stream that got deleted due to copyright issues because I was sharing clips from the movie, I started watching Rebel Moon from Mr. Zack Snyder, who's getting too much work these days. He's got a freaking new cartoon coming that looks like Samurai Jack mixed with Game of Thrones. And they have a sex scene in the promo sequence, and it's like, bro, we need to really stop. I'm gonna stop the audio before I get pulled. And I started watching Rebel Moon right before this. I picked up where I left off. It was the final battle, right? The space Nazis are here. They're fighting against the rebels on the moon. And, they picked up that Beastmaster in the first movie. And he didn't do any Beastmastery things. They gave him a gun. This whole time he's been without animals around. He's just been a strong dude. They didn't treat their characters as if they were significant. If you're going to have a ragtag group of people, they each need to shine and they need to bring something to the table. Every last one of them. Sick of this lazy shit. I wish I lived in a world where I could turn this movie on and watch it with an audience. Like, that left arm looks awful, but in the context of the whole picture, I think it doesn't look too bad. Like, there's going to be redeeming things about this shot that people are going to forgive me for this left arm. And it's a difficult angle. I gotta be able to let you listen to like 10 seconds worth of audio from this stupid fucking movie, right? You've done well.
Much better than I expected. Much better than could be expected from a bunch of fucking farmers.
Fucking farmers.
You must know this ship can operate without a bridge.
Yeah, I do. But can it operate without its engine?
Huh?
Sir!
Sir, I got bad news about the engine. Is that just how she defeats him? We still got 30 minutes left. Drawing silver was something that I was really stressing over because I wasn't very confident in my ability to, like, make him look cool. I was picturing him in my imagination as having, like, a thicker, I gotta turn this shit down for myself. 'Cause they're just screaming at each other, swinging glowy blades at one another. Sliding around, slip sliding around. Um, but once I started letting myself get away with stuff, it became a lot easier. Like, that's not good, but it is, I guess. It kind of works. Like, whatever works. And then, his bracers, his helmet, and his chest and stuff are going to be shinier metal. And then every other part of him is going to be like more of a brushed metal, gun metal sort of color. I'm kind of coming up with a way of hashing that out on him. And it's making me really want to go back and redo some of those first pages where I was using a lot of the airbrushing and coloring, because I decided just off of, and this is the benefit of doing these rough pages and putting it out there and, like, trying to get feedback. Even if I don't get any feedback, I'm, like, giving myself feedback just looking at them. And I can be like, okay, look, it doesn't look right. It doesn't look cool. And so I'm going to have to do another cover, obviously. And maybe use the one that I just made, you know, the test run cover. I'll include that in some sort of the making of book that people could buy or look at. Because once Release becomes a beloved story, people are going to want merch. So to recap, because I know I've been quiet, and they're having their space battle, and I've been kind of like just listening to it, but she was fighting Mandark on his battle cruiser, and shit was weird. Like it was going sideways, so they were slip sliding around, and what's his face, the farmer dude who was getting treated like a cuck earlier on, like he got his dick grabbed by the fat, ugly alien dude who wanted to molest him. And so he fought hard, earned his stripes, earned her respect, and now he's dying on the battlefield after she's defeated Mandark there. And he gets to be like, I love you. I'm dying, but I love you. I'm just a poor farmer, and you're this incredible badass woman who defected from the evil Nazi regime, and you murdered a child who became part of their odd religion. And then Will drew a weird finger because he was talking about it. The other finger's kind of weird too, but he's going to forgive himself. Move on. Maybe. I'll redo that one too. Yeah, the movies take me out of the zone. So everyone's rejoicing. The freaking... So I mentioned before, the Beastmaster had no beasts this whole time. Like, I'm watching this final battle, and I'm watching the characters' conclusions come to an end, right? Like, the storylines are wrapping up. Because it doesn't look like there's going to be a number 3. Just 1, 2, both with director's cuts. And yeah, they go to the Texas planet to get this dude who is a Beastmaster, and he tames a griffin in front of him, right? And then they take him into space, and he proceeds to never interact with another beast for the rest of the time. He becomes a farmer, he awkwardly dances at one point. He provides some male bonding for the Black Maximus dude. Black Maximus was a drinker, and he overcame his alcoholism thanks to the Space Amish. And they all just work together to defeat a large chunk of the space Nazi army. And now they're having a little Jedi funeral for people who died. And the main character girl gets to cry over the loss of this brave farmer boy who worked with her to gather their ragtag group and save everybody. So they're all having their moment with their little funeral now. And then Child of Fire's crying because she's like, guys, I have a secret. I'm the one that murdered the freaking girl who everyone loved, and I kind of like caused a lot of this crap. And they're like, no. Like, the Black Maximus comes forward and is like, oh no, she's alive. You thought she could be killed that easily? And she's like, what? And then they're like, will you come with us to, what was it? God damn it, don't make me rewind and watch any of this all over again. But somebody was like, let's go find her. And then the robot shows up out of nowhere and is like, will I be of assistance? Like, fucking, you're supposed to be Gandalf C-3PO, I guess? Because he's the one that, like, turned the tide in battle because he showed up and started, like, going crazy on the troops. Which, by the way, why weren't there more robots? Like, there was only one robot and he defected. But anyway, now this little girl is singing. This little girl came out of the crowd and kind of interrupted everybody, I feel like, and started singing this song. And I'm like, no, we were talking about the plot for the next movie. She's like, no, this is a funeral. Shut up. I gotta, like, sing because my fucking brother died. Because where were the other robots? Why was there only... I guess we should be thankful there was only one robot on the good people's side, but it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. The space Nazis brought the robot. He was supposed to be on their side. There was even a scene where it's like, oh, you're supposed to be on our side. Before the He stabbed one of them. And maybe it's because I was looking down and drawing this comic book most of the time, but I didn't feel like there was any other robots. We didn't have any robot versus robot action, which we should have. I'm happy to see that the space Nazis are using quasi like Christian symbolism in their rituals and stuff, because you know, Christianity is so rarely included these days. Nice stained glass window. It does feel like they've reused a lot of the sets from, like, this looks like the Game of Thrones room, where in Game of Thrones they would have just put their 7-pointed star over this window that he's using and filmed it right there. Just CGI'd a different window. That window's probably CGI. It's so dumb though, because I'm looking at this. It's the king, just like someone put the crown on him, like he's getting ready in front of this giant round window that looks more like a throne room. And they give him his big gold bone, and he walks off and starts getting his daily briefing from a skinny officer guy. Ooh, so they are gonna leave it open for a third one here, because well, I'll keep quiet until I can have a complete thought about what I'm witnessing right now, because it looks like there's more formations. These movies and the formations. I was watching, what other movie was this? It was the new DOIN movie, where I felt like 20% of the movie was just formations. It wasn't. It was like 5% maybe, but still. There's like important conversations going on, and literally the background is just dudes in formation. It's really sick. Need to let people relax. Like your troops are probably so high strung. You got them sitting there standing in formation all the goddamn time while you're doing diplomacy. Oh, so I made it through. Made it through Rebel Moon. I feel good. I feel like I have accomplished something. Does that do anything at all? No. A little bit. Whatever. Oh, geez. Do I need to watch the creating of Rebel Moon? Sure. Let's see. Good God, dude. I'm in the first 45 seconds of this, like, making of. And they're fluffing this thing up so hard. Alright, let me rewind this. This universe is epic. Zack Snyder said he's been thinking about this story for quite a while. This other guy says that Zack Snyder is universe, but he's not world building, he is universe building. She said they've created languages and symbols. They're showing these tapestries that they've created with the symbols that they've created. Original characters, he says. He said we've created original characters. New technology. They said new technology, and they showed that thing that, like, they had people standing up in, like one of those standing up gurneys, and it had the Matrix thing to the back of the head, where you could download somebody's memories. That's their new technology that they created. Jesus Christ. It's just a mashup of other shit that Zack saw. Like, how could you say this is world building, universe building, when 90% of the shit is just repackaged other shit? Like, it's literally World War II in space, aesthetically, right? Like, forget what World War II actually was, but aesthetically, everything, like, you literally took the Nazis, made them Christian fanatics, put them in space, and set them on these poor farming communities that are planets. Like, oh, there's an Amish planet. Like, this is your universe building. Ugh. He says he's excited about the immersion into this world. And let's dig in. So we're going to spend a lot of this time, like the scenes. It's going to be like literally we took an idealistic version of Earth civilizations and we put them in space. That's what we did. I love these, a lot of movies that you see are like cut together, you know. So a dude will sit down, he'll have a boring interview, and then they'll play a 3-second clip of that interview cut together with like visual effects to try and make it sound like super interesting. So this guy, his story, let me see how many, like, okay, 27. Says we're flying back from Cape Town, and Zach says, wouldn't it be cool if one day we could make a movie in outer space? And that was, it cuts to somebody else talking about, I was a big fan of science fiction and fantasy. It's like, dude, so you're on a plane, and Zack Snyder looks at you and says, wouldn't it be cool to make a movie in space? What do you say to that? Like, I'm turning back to Zack Snyder and I'm saying, okay, I take it you think that it would be cool. Do you have an idea for a movie that is in space? Or is this a new thought? What are we talking about here? You know? Elaborate. Are you asking me if I've ever thought about that? No. Sometimes. Maybe a little bit. I'm not going to give you my ideas. Zach says the mythology is deep. Hold on a second. I don't know if I can watch this. There's so much gobbledygook. With him saying it's a David and Goliath story, and then at its core, it's rather simple, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, but they're so deep. They're so deep with the mythology. It's like, dude, I feel like we should try to be less pretentious as creators. Especially if what you're making is so derivative of everything you've ever seen. Which is a lot of stuff. Like, a lot of independent stuff is very derivative. I'm waiting. It would help me if people did more digital issues, because then I would buy them for like $5 or whatever, discounted, because I'm trying not to spend $40 on a comic book. I'm in that category of person. I know there's plenty of people that do, and we love those people. I hope that there's a lot of them that like me. But I do want to offer people a $5 like digital, or 10, you know. $10 is reasonable for 100 pages or whatever. But I digress. Freaking the one that I read was just a very bland sword and shield, like, you know, two mercenaries out on the trail get picked up by the king's guards, and they argue at first, but then some lady shows up, and then they join forces, and they rescue a king's unicorn. And I was sold the story as if it was written by a grown man who wanted to write comic books, right? And he found an artist. I found the artist that he used. I looked at his Instagram. You know, he's just a young dude who wants to make comic books, right? It's like me. I'm a young, I'm not so young, but I'm a dude. I just sort of got into this. I want to make comic books. But I got into this because I felt like I had a great story that needed to be told. And he was on Twitter, like I interacted with this guy, and he even told me, he's like, people that read my story really liked it, because I was like, I'm not sure you can really write a fantasy story right now unless you got something like really unique about it. And I read it, and it was, it was garbage. It wasn't like offensive. It just wasn't. It didn't have anything unique really going on about it, and it wasn't compelling in any way. But this dude argues a lot with people on Twitter, and so I see him online a bunch, and some of his takes I'll agree with. But then I saw it's like he started, because people were making fun of his comic book, and he started saying that his daughter helped him write it, and started putting the blame on his daughter for the fact that it was the big reveal at the end was just a unicorn, and the king had tasked them with going to get this unicorn back when they bumped into the dude, and that was the first issue of the comic book. And I did a review of it, Blood and the Sword, weeks ago. And I came away thinking it was just a very meh comic, and I was really questioning why he even did it. Because if you're not gonna bring anything really cool to the table, then fucking stay home. And then I find out that it's his, because I didn't hammer him about it on Twitter or nothing. I just made my video, and I'm like, whatever. 7 people saw it. Hopefully he saw it. I made one post, tagged him in it, and that was it. Right? Because I'm not trying to bully anybody. But some people are out there to bully. And they were like, hey, this comic book fucking blows, and you're out here making fun of these other guys and running your mouth. And he doesn't seem to get any extra engagement from that, except from the same 4 or 5 people. That's why I'm not interested in joining any hate bandwagons. So Eric July, who the 2 people who will see this video have no idea who that is, but he's become a sacred lol cow in the Comicsgate crowdfunding comic book scene, which I have forced myself to become acquainted with over the past year. I didn't even know it existed really prior to 2023 when I reactivated my Twitter account and started following these guys and realized oh, this is what Ethan Van Sciver's been up to. This is what Comicsgate is. It's this big sort of fundraising network. You can make more money crowdfunding your comic book than you can trying to give it away for a small subscription like I was thinking about. You can give people the opportunity to support you, which is nice. But you need an audience to be successful at it. And so the Rippaverse came in, this dude who had been cultivating an audience on YouTube for years and years, because he's a black conservative culture commentator. He would complain about race swapping and stuff like that, and it sounds good coming from a black dude. Like, let's call it what it is. But he loves the idea of making comic books. He felt like he was a creative dude, and he had these ideas, which, like, if you look at them objectively, they're like high school level creativity, you know. I'm not going to use the same ideas that I had in high school. Maybe one or two of them. But I'm not currently. None of them are currently in development. I want to have fresh ideas, not dated by, you know, simplistic sort of thinking, which is what ISOM was. ISOM was his comic book, and he made more money than anybody because he had freaking 500,000 subs on YouTube, and he had conservatives, like he worked for the Blaze and stuff like that, so they all promoted him. But I wouldn't have known about any of that if I wasn't putting out my own comic book. But where was I? Oh yeah, this Richard fella who I'd seen around, and like I said, I liked some of his takes. And I was following him on Twitter for a little bit. I might still be following him. But he's been getting attacked by these pro-Ripaverse people who've had enough of his detracting. And they're like, dude, your comic sucks. And he's like, oh, my daughter helped me write it. I'm like, come on, man. I don't think that really sounds as good as you want it to. You know? Like, I have a daughter. Do you think I'm gonna have her fucking write a story for me? Especially when you haven't made anything else. Like, maybe if you made something of your own, and then you put out a little side project where it's like, oh, my daughter helped me write this, but you helped her make it good. Like, if she has ideas that need to be punched up, hey, let's punch them up. If we need to expand on her ability using your ability because you're the one putting out the product as her father, let's do it. If it's like, oh, my daughter wanted to write a story about a group of mercenaries who wind up helping the nice female captain of the guard lady to retrieve his unicorn that was stolen. Someone stole his unicorn. And I'd be like, listen, sweetie, we're asking people to spend money on this. What else is going on here? You know what I mean? It's like, well, in the beginning of the story, he bumps into a mean guard, but he's tough and he doesn't take any disrespect from him. So they get into a fight, and then what's-her-face shows up, puts a stop to it. And then they go and they rescue the unicorn, and that's the end of the story, pretty much. Be like, we need to punch this up, darling. We need to tell a story that really compels the readers. We need... Who is this king? What is the land like? If you're telling a fantasy story, okay, there needs to be something cool about the world that we're stepping into, because you're asking an audience to come with you on a journey far away. And so, for instance, my well, I won't use my idea. I'm going to use my idea. But Middle Earth established right away that there were other races of humans living there, and they took you over the map. And in this one, we got none of that. We just got these dudes are, it starts off with them putting their camp away and talking about a debt. And at no point did they go into what that debt was necessarily or anything. It was very disappointing. But I'm not an asshole. I'm not going to sit there and, like, you know, come at you on Twitter over it. But now I see that stuff and I'm like, man, this is why you just shouldn't have your daughter helping you write comic books, man. You need to write your own comic book. Like, if you make fun of me, you're making fun of a 6-year-old girl. Like, dude. Then go away. Stop acting like you're better than anybody. Because I wondered why, because he would show up and say, people like my story, come read my story. It's only $5, come read my story. People like it. And I'm like, well, if they do, why don't I see you anywhere but these, like, little streams that are, like, devoted to hating Eric July? Nothing against hating Eric July, honestly. He deserves it. But I feel like even a little bit of actual, like, talent will take you very far, way beyond that, in Comicsgate and crowdfunding. Like, I anticipate release is going to carry me very far. Because my 8-year-old daughter is not writing it. I'm writing it and drawing it. People like Zack Snyder got me thinking just a little bit of talent's going to take me far into freaking Hollywood. which was one of the ideas that I had from the outset of this, is create the stories that will get produced into movies, TV shows, that sort of thing. Because that's really the only way to have widespread appeal. Why'd I even start talking about that guy, I wonder? Oh yeah, like generic ideas and shit. Derivative shit. Most of the independent works that you see these days are just derivative of other things. Zack Snyder's new cartoon looks derivative. It's literally Game of Thrones, Thor, you know, blood, sex, medieval, freaking low effort animation. Like, I remember watching the South Park documentary. It was 7 Days to Air, and they go over the animation software that they use, and it's just software that can animate things that look like paper, animation. And so I see this like sort of 3D, 2D stuff that they're making, and that's definitely what this is going to be, because it's like I said, it looks like Samurai Jack, like Gendy Tarkovsky style uh, artwork, animation. And I just can't imagine that they wouldn't try to automate that. Sorry, I'm talking while I'm working. I guess I'll just do that. I was trying to decide, okay, because the background that I sketched out, I guess I didn't grid it out when I drew it the first time. Because that's supposed to be where people sort of get on the train from that angle. Although the doors are in the middle of the train. The bus. I'll have doors at the bus in the front and the middle. But anyway, Zach's making his Norse god Game of Thrones Samurai Jack using what appears to be AI software to produce it. We can't stop the march of whatever people think progress is. You know what I mean? Like, I started drawing again like 7 years ago. And people were telling me then, like, oh, AI is going to get better and better, man. AI is going to get better and better. And I started believing them for a little while there, and that's why my progress slowed a little bit, because I started teaching myself how to program and stuff, and I was like kind of messing around with AI a little bit. But ultimately, I'm like, this stuff is not going to help me out. I'd be better off learning how to draw and creating this, because it's not gonna be good enough for me. Like, I think what I'm producing now is better than whatever I would be producing with AI. Ugh. But I will persevere, I will create, and I'm going to stand out, I think, because consumers, people who appreciate art forms, are going to recognize the stuff that's created by artists. That's what I think. Or I'll end up using AI to make this guy look more metallic looking somehow. I don't know. A lot of it is in the imagination of the reader, so they do some of the work for me. I'm going to go eat breakfast. Thanks for tuning in, future viewers. I know I still get 0. We'll get there. Baby steps. Baby steps. More content. More reps. And getting this issue 0 put together is really going to kick things into high gear. So, good things are on the way. And Rebel Moon sucked. And that's good for